Hey there, welcome back. This is Casey, and today we are going to continue along with our exploration of the heart, and we are going to be looking at some botanicals that are used extensively and have been used traditionally for healing the heart, and those will include plants, herbs, as well as trees and some fruits. So, and we're also going to just take a look at the signature or the underlying energetic imprint of the heart as it relates to these particular botanicals. So we can see right away that we do have some similarities. Just in this picture alone, we can right away see that we have in the center the heart, and in Latin, the Latin word for heart is cor. And we also have cardia, coming from the Greek cardia. And we're going to be seeing some similarities in the origination of these words. And also we're going to be finding these words in the names of these plants, and also noting any visual similarities that appear, again, due to the similarity of the energetic frequency or signature of the plants. So we are going to go into a little bit more detail on 4 plants. And before we do, though, I want to show you, or just point out, that in the center we have the heart, and then above that we have the lungs, and then at the bottom we have the blood. So we have in the bottom center, you can see the red blood cells, as well the white blood cells. And you may notice that there are some, there is some likeness between the shape and the color. Right away you can see that between the blood cells, and especially the hawthorn berry, which is in the lower left, and the rose hip, which is in, the hawthorn berry is in the lower right, and then the rose hip is in the lower left. And we're also going to see that above the heart we have the lungs, and you can see the alveoli, these little tiny air sacs where the gas exchange occurs, where the blood is oxygenated and then returned to the heart. And then also some similarities between the shape and just the overall appearance of the alveoli to some of the plants that we're looking at. So in the upper left we have Motherwort, and then the upper right we have Tilia or Linden. So let me give you a quick preview of what we're going to cover today. So we're going to go into some detail, not too much. Before I forget, I will mention that I have these plants, their full bios are on my website. And we're going to be looking at the individual plants, as well as we're going to be coming up with a couple formulas for the heart based on what we're seeing with these plants. And so there will be different scenarios that you would use different plants for different people in different situations, you know, with different health challenges and such. So we have our plants. We'll go into a little bit of detail, and like I said, not a whole lot. And if you want to take a look at my website, we'll have their bios there. And then we're also going to not go into the fruits so much, but basically just note that these fruits, and most of these fruits here, are in the rose family. There are other fruits and foods that are beneficial to the heart. But we're just going to take a very quick look at that. And then, and this might be part 2. So what I want to do for you guys is a complete botanical matching or herbal consultation. So we will basically look at this iris. We have analyzed this eye in the last couple of videos, especially as it relates to the heart. But I want to go through this iris and do a complete analysis of what kind of plants I would put together as a formula for this person. And so you may do the same for yourself. So the formula would be something that would be all-encompassing. It would address all systems, especially the kidneys and lymphatic system. As well, we're going to specialize the formula to include what we see in terms of organs and systems that this person could benefit from. So obviously we're going to include some plants for the heart and definitely the nervous system. And yeah, we'll just put that together at the end of the video or in the next video, depending on how quickly I can get through these plants. I'm not planning on spending too much time. I mostly want to point out the overall uses and benefits. Okay, so when we're looking at cardiac remedies, we are looking at the, as opposed to cardio active, we are looking at cardiotonic. And a cardiotonic would be defined as a plant that somehow benefits, strengthens, improves the contractile nature and overall function of the heart. A cardioactive plant is more of a plant that you would use in more serious situation where you really need to get the heart started, to put it that way. So that would be used more for emergency situations. And we do have examples of this being used in the medical profession with plants such as digitalis or foxglove, also lily of the valley. Both of those are really powerful plants that produce a contraction in the heart. However, for our purposes, we're looking more at the regenerative. So the way I see herbs is if you could simplify and put them into 3 categories, you would have detoxifying, regenerative, and then you would also have symptom regulating. And all of those have their places. So the cardiac remedies or the cardiotonics would be defined as they would go into the regenerative category. They can be taken long-term, and they should be taken long-term for best results. As well, they don't pose any dangers, like some of the cardioactive plants can build up in the system over time and cause some challenges. So again, should be used more in emergency situations. However, cardiotonics are used best and have the greatest results. And especially with Hawthorn, we have a lot of research on Hawthorn from different countries throughout the years. And even in Europe, Hawthorn is the most widely prescribed cardiac remedy. So we have a lot of years of research, and some of that research really backs up the fact that these plants are safe. They can be taken, especially the ones in the rose family, can be taken by pretty much anyone at any stage in their life. And they have an effect that the benefits build up over time. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll look at some of these plants a little bit more specifically. So we have rose here, and like I said, we're going to be noting different features that we see. You can see right away with the hips, not only the color, it looks like a really nice oxygenated red blood cell on its way to oxygenate the body. So, and we also have, as you can see, the shape, the actual shape of a heart. The rose plant as well is especially significant to the heart in that it embodies, all plants do, but the rose especially embodies the sacred, the golden mean, as well as the golden spiral, and in that the Fibonacci sequence. So we're going to see, especially with the wild rose, 5 petals generally speaking on this plant, and then you can see with this lower spiral, not a wild rose, a cultivated rose, but again the signature of golden spiral. Okay, so the properties, the main properties of rose, and we have rose being in the rose family, the rose genus, also the rose species. The main thing rose is known for, and especially related to the hips, is its high vitamin C content. So it is an antioxidant. It is also, in that regard, anti-aging, as well as an antidepressant, mild antidepressant activity or action. It is neuroprotective, as well as a cardiotonic. And the rose's capacity to heal is multidimensional in that we also, as humans, are multidimensional. The rose is able to reach us on all levels. The rose also has an extremely high frequency, as all plants do, but especially the rose has a very high frequency, as it is related to the very high frequency of love. So also the rose is mentioned in some Christian literature as a plant associated with the Mother Mary. And there's also an association with Hawthorn to the crown of thorns. So let's see what else. It is also something of an analgesic or mild pain reliever, as it is extremely anti-inflammatory. So rose has been known to strengthen the capillaries. Like I said, it is rich in vitamin C and bioflavonoids. So the rose hip fruit has something like 400% more vitamin C than an orange. And you can extract that with water. You can do, with a lot of these plants, I like to do a cold infusion, because that does tend to transfer some of the spiritual essence better than using boiling water. And in that sense also, rose is well used and well regarded in the aromatherapy and flower essence field as a heart healer. also used in spiritual practices. So as an anti-inflammatory, we have some Scandinavian studies showing that rose hips and seeds significantly reduce the need for painkillers. So like I said, somewhat of a painkiller and nervine. It's also relaxing to the liver. So you could use it in cases where you are seeing liver congestion or liver toxicity, as well as imbalance in the heart, or a need for strengthening or healing, especially on an emotional level in the heart. And back to extracting these phytochemicals, it is readily available, all the nutrients in rose, like all plants, but they do need to be extracted in a proper way. So you can do a cold infusion. Like I said, I do like to do that with the flowers, and you can use the leaves and the flowers and the hips. You can use the whole plant. The hips, however, you may want to use a hot water extraction to really pull out all of the medicine. I've also used a honey extract method with rose hips, and that is delightful, especially if you consume honey. I don't use it a lot. In fact, I use it more for, and that's a whole other subject, but it's a great like anti-aging. It's really good for skincare. But honey extracts the vitamin C and all the bioavailable nutrients rather well, because you can taste it. So you extract it in the honey, and then you can have this rose essence honey. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to Hawthorn. Also in the rose family, we have Hawthorn. And of all the plants and all of the organs and areas of the body, I would say this has the most obvious and definite action and correlation. That is Hawthorn and rose. And I prefer, and it is recommended, to take the whole plant. So most of the research done has been with the leaves, flowers, and berries. However, a lot of times you'll see just the berries as ingredients in formulas. And no doubt there is going to be benefit from hawthorn berries, whether or not you are including the leaves and the flowers. So I wouldn't let that deter you from any formulas or, adding just the berries. However, I do think as a full spectrum and perfect remedy with this one plant, you would want to include, if possible, the whole entire plant. So hawthorn, the main property is cardiotonic, and we also have diuretic. So another reason why this would be a perfect heart formula in and of itself. It would also combine well with rose. So you could have as one formula both of these plants, or even just if you had one plant as a standalone, you had to choose, it would be hawthorn. It also, like rose, is astringent, and it is as well hypotensive. So this is lowering and regulating as well blood pressure. So according to David Hoffman, I'm going to just read you a quick quote. Hawthorn's primary attribute appears to be an ability to improve coronary circulation. So improves circulation. It dilates the coronary arteries, relieving cardiac hypoxemia. Consequently, it reduces the likelihood of angina attacks and relieves symptoms of angina when they occur. The herb thus directly affects the cells of the cardiac muscle, enhancing both activity and nutrition. Just the basic definition of a tonic is building, strengthening, improving the health and quality of. Okay, so Crataegus, he says, so I need to mention. So the Latin word for hawthorn is Crataegus. And Crataegus meaning hardness or strength as well as sharp. So that does bring up something I wanted to mention, and that is one of the signatures, one of the main signatures you're going to see in these heart plants is that they are soft, generally sweet, except for Motherwort, as well as a lot of them are sharp. So the keywords in terms of what they embody would be love, as well as protection. Both of those things, also qualities that are expressed through the heart, and love as the main quality associated with the heart, and then protection coming as an often necessary function of the heart. All right, and you can use these plants in a spiritual sense. They are really good for protection. So we have Crataegus. Let me continue on with some of the benefits as stated by David Hoffman in his book, Medical Herbalism. So he says, Crataegus is positively inotropic. That is, it increases the contractility of cardiac muscle. However, it is quite different in activity from the cardiac glycoside-containing remedies. So, as stated, you can be taking, and it is recommended to be taking Crataegus consistently and on a long-term basis. And if you are on heart medication, and of course, you would consult with whoever is, prescribed your medication to you. But what he is saying is that research is showing that Crataegus, if you take hawthorn along with cardiac medication, actually improves the effects of the medication, while at the same time, it decreases the negative effects of the medication. So, used in conjunction with other cardiac herbs, Crataegus helps keep the heart in healthy condition, minimizing the risk of the development of coronary disease. It is indicated for cardiovascular degenerative disease, coronary artery disease, and associated conditions, including angina pectoris, mild congestive heart failure, essential hypertension, and recovery after myocardial infarction. It is especially beneficial for loss of function due to old age. So this is a plant that can be taken even if you don't have symptoms of weakness in the heart, even if you're not seeing anything in the iris, even if you don't have, a family history, as an anti-aging, antioxidant plant, it is beneficial to take this no matter what as we age. And it causes no toxicity, accumulation, or habituation, and is safe for long-term use in the elderly. It can also be taken by children. This is a very safe plant. I haven't seen any contraindications, not even for women in pregnancy, although, in your particular situation, you would want to research that further. So as a tonic in the true sense, Crataegus can be considered a specific remedy for most cardiovascular disease. I think that sums it up. If you see anything going on in the heart, if on all levels, on physical, emotional, spiritual, then it would be a really nice plant to add to your routine or to your formula. All right, let's move on. So rose and hawthorn would be the two signature plants for benefiting the heart. We also see a lot motherwort in heart formulas, and motherwort has also been researched, and it also is a cardiotonic. Motherwort's Latin name is Leonuris cardiaca, so we have cardia, heart, and then Leo, lion. The urus is referring to tail, so you can see in this plant when it is in blossom form, it could somewhat resemble a lion's tail. There are also implications in this name because it will translate as well into lion-hearted. Regardless, it is implying a strength of heart. So what are the properties of motherwort? You know, right away, I will say that while it is used extensively in heart formulas and it does benefit the heart and it is a cardiotonic, there are other properties with this plant that may be equally or even more significant, if that makes sense. So it is a female tonic. I would not, it is not recommended to be used during pregnancy. It is an emmenagogue. Did I spell that right? So it will induce your menstrual cycle if you are a female. So you would not take it during pregnancy. It is anti-spasmodic. It is also hepatic, so it also benefits the liver. So we're seeing a connection between the liver and the heart. Interesting. As well, it is a nervine, and it is a fairly, it has a pretty marked effect in terms of a nervine. It is a fairly relaxing nervine. Like if you hawthorn as said to be relaxing, if you take some hawthorn tea, you're probably not going to get sleepy. If you take some motherwort tea, you may get sleepy. And also with that said, you would probably not want to add motherwort in a large proportion anyway to your tea. It's really bitter. So you can sneak it into some formulas and some of your teas. I do use it, especially when it's needed. I don't mind the taste, and as a bitter, it is going to benefit the liver and as well digestion. It is also hypnotic. I haven't found that to be a profound state of hypnotism in taking motherwort, but it is very relaxing to me. As well as hypotensive. So motherwort is best used in cases where the imbalance of the heart is related to stress. Especially irregular or a rapid beating heart. Motherwort has also been used in cases of heart inflammation. So we have the around the heart, inflammation, and within the heart, inflammation. So we have the cardi here in indicating heart, and then the itis indicating inflammation. Motherwort has been used in these cases and has benefited those involved. It's also been used for chronic atrial fibrillation. Also been shown to decrease blood viscosity. It's also used in cases of hyperthyroidism. So this is another example of what I mentioned earlier, which is that as beneficial a plant as motherwort is for the heart, it also embodies a lot of other qualities. So if you have anything that is related to having hyperthyroidism, I'm guessing that it would balance out Hashimoto's. I haven't researched this directly, but I would be careful with motherwort if you do have hyperthyroid symptoms. And definitely with all plants, do your research and, you know, just kind of feel out and try out what plants work for you. But you can see from this soft pink flower that actually, now that I'm looking at, does remind me that there are very, very, very spiky spikes underneath this flower. So again, we have this like very soft, motherly love energy, very much surrounded by protection. And if you're harvesting this plant, I mean, they're spiky, so you would even want to use gloves. All right. Let's move on to the last plant that we are looking at today, and that is Tilia, also known as linden. The most commonly used linden is the smaller little leaf linden. And this is the Tilia cordata. So we have, again, the word heart appearing here in this plant's name, and you can see from the leaves that we have a heart-shaped leaf. It's actually really similar to an aspen tree, if you've had the pleasure of knowing an aspen tree or a forest full. It's nothing quite like that, except for linden is like it in that sense. So we have this heart-shaped leaf, and also actually aspen would be beneficial to the heart, as it is like a lot of those in its family, like birch tree. It is related to the willow and contains salicylic acid, which is a pain reliever. So, and as well, a blood thinner. So the people that are, you know, were taking aspirin to help their heart, that had, although that could be toxic in and of itself, it does have some truth to it, in that if you have thick blood running through the heart, it's not going to help the heart. So blood thinners can be useful. All right, so back to Tilia or linden. This is also known as lime blossom, and anything related to lime or citrus, anything that is this bright yellow color, is going to be associated with an antidepressant quality. And this tree is delightful. It is sweet. It tastes really nice. It does make you happy. And not just with your senses, but it also has been shown to do so. So we also have a Nervine, Anti-Spasmodic, Hypotensive again. This plant also is diaphoretic. So I haven't experienced this personally with this plant in particular, but it will induce sweating for some, which is really, really nice for people who are not filtering as they could be with their kidneys. It is also diuretic. So again, another beneficial quality if you're looking for help with your kidneys. Anti-inflammatory and astringent. So same real similar properties. So in terms of blending this plant or combining it in a formula, one of my favorite dynamic duos is dandelion with linden, and then linden with dandelion. So these two combine very well together. And when you're doing blending and creating formulas, in herbalism, you're looking for a synergistic effect that comes with combining plants. And sometimes that comes together with 8 or 9 or 12 or 15 plants. And every once in a while, you have a perfect match and you have a profound synergy occurring within 2 plants. And this combo I actually like to do as a cold infusion. It can also be done as a hot infusion. And I use the leaves, the dandelion leaves, and then with the linden, you use the leaves and the flowers. So in that formula would be, well, it would affect the kidneys in a positive light as well as the heart, and it would have a lot of other benefits. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with a quote from Cheryl Tilner's book about linden, and she says, "As a gentle yet effective nervine, linden is equally beneficial to the very young, very old, and feeble, those on medication, and everyone in between. Tilia is specific for nervous tension held in the heart. Linden's action in both the cardiovascular and nervous system illustrate how the body doesn't ever operate in isolated systems. As a vasodilator and relaxant to heart musculature, linden gives an oxygenated sense of relief, easing the mind and calming the heart at the same time. This complementary set of actions is why linden is known as a prophylactic for arteriosclerosis and hypertension." So from here, we're going to take a look at the fruits that are most associated with healing the heart. All right, so we are looking at namely the rose family in terms of fruits. We've already spoken to the benefits of the hawthorn berry as well as the wild rose hip, which is a fruit. And we also have in that same family the apple, pomegranate, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, all the berries, also cherries, apricots, pears, peaches. And as well, almonds are also included in the rose family. You may note that we have the tomato in the upper left. It is not in the rose family, but there has been a ton of research done on the tomato and especially its content of lycopene. So when we see the lycopene, it's an indication of this antioxidant that's been related to healing the heart. And we are going to find that there is lycopene in a lot of other fruits and that there are other beneficial compounds and anti-aging chemicals found within fruit that can be noted in its bright colors. So I'm going to show you really quick a close-up of the tomato, and then I'm not going to go in. Oh, also we have the pomegranate, and you can see just again the similarity, the visual similarity in the color and the shape, and you'll note that this is going to relate to the form and the function also of the heart and the blood. But I want to show you really quick a close-up tomato and then move on, just because I've been talking for a while. But okay, so I mean, it is sort of obvious that, you know, there is something of, you can see the shape of the heart within the tomato, but more dramatically to me is this plasma within the tomato. So this viscous fluid, it's thicker than water and it's clear, and it is containing the seeds of the tomato. They sort of are suspended within the plasma, and this very much represents to me the blood and how the blood cells exist within the plasma. And not only that, so we have this, if you remember when we looked at the heart, or just, you know, if you know somewhat the function of the heart and the anatomy of the heart, you know that it is divided by a septum. So we can see that this certainly does look like a septum. It is dividing the tomatoes chambers, basically. And in this particular tomato, every tomato is different. There are, I don't know, hundreds, I don't know how many varieties of tomatoes, but in this particular tomato, we can actually see the likeliness of the chambers and the ventricles and the atria of the heart. So you could even imagine that the blood is flowing in through the vena cava and then flowing down into through the right atrium into the right ventricle, up and out through to the lungs, and then back in to the left ventricle through the left atrium, and then out through the aorta to the rest of the body. So you can imagine that this tomato contains chambers very, very much like the heart. And as such, it's not really surprising that the tomato has been researched extensively and found due to its lycopene and also other chemicals and molecules and antioxidant properties within the tomato. So yeah, I think that's it on the tomato for now. I'm not going to go into all the research. You know, tomatoes are, and lycopene itself is related inversely to the occurrence of heart disease as well as cancer. So you do want to consume as much lycopene as you like in the form of fruits and vegetables. All right, so let's take a preliminary look at this iris, and then I will do another video completely dedicated to a botanical matching for this person. But I want to say, just because we just talked about these plants, that right away we have this lacuna in the heart area. And we also have the adrenal and kidney. And so that would indicate to me that rose would be a good option as an adrenal tonic and as well a heart tonic. So we have rose so far, and I would do the rose hip, possibly the petals if it were a botanical blend for an infusion. So we have rose, and then also hawthorn would be excellent. And we could do the berry. We could also include the whole plant. And that would be also excellent for what we're seeing as a pretty major indication of pineal gland and pituitary gland weakness. So we would be doing rose and hawthorn, and I would say also, especially because we have such a pronounced heart weakness or an inherited weakness, I would definitely say that we would also even include Tilia. So we would be using pretty much all of the heart tonics or cardiotonic plants that we've talked about. So we could include Tilia. And then, as mentioned, I do love to include dandelion leaf with Tilia. So we would do rose, hawthorn, Tilia, dandelion leaf, which would also be a great plant to give a secondary action to those kidneys. So first priority would be the heart, and then the kidneys, the adrenal gland, and not in terms of priority, but just in terms of what I'm seeing and what we've talked about today and in the last few videos. And then we would really be focusing on the endocrine system, and especially the pituitary and pineal glands. And then along with the Tilia and dandelion, you know, we are seeing these nerve rings, and then we also do have the adrenal gland weakness. So we could guess that this person might be experiencing or has experienced anxiety. So here we are with Motherwort being a great plant for relaxation, affecting the nervous system as well as the heart. So with the Motherwort, as mentioned, it does have an effect on the thyroid. I would want to probably check in with this person, because we could see that there is a potential, we have this lacuna in this area. It could be indicating a hypothyroid. So I know we're in the digestive system here, but we also have some darkness right outside the digestive system. I'm guessing that there is a low thyroid in this case. So, and if we did do Motherwort, I might not include it in a loose herb blend. I might recommend this person get a tincture, just because it is, you know, not the best tasting. That said, Motherwort would be really nice with mullein. So I know we looked at Motherwort today. I don't know if we talked about this, but that soft pink flower, that downy, very, just like the cilia in the lungs. So this very soft pink flower does indicate a likelihood that Motherwort has also a positive effect on the lungs, just because its signature does indicate that. And then mullein as an excellent plant for the lungs. And we're seeing, you know, with all of this stuff going on in the heart area, the lungs are probably this area in here, probably would benefit from some strengthening. So with mullein, it does go really well with Motherwort, and in that case, I would probably add those two into the one whole formula, if that makes sense. So, and then we have with the mullein and the dandelion, well, especially with the mullein, it also has some effect on the endocrine system. So you would have like this overall boosting effect for the glands. And then we would definitely put some more plants in there based on what else we see. And I'm going to think about that and ponder on this iris a little bit after I turn the camera off, and I will be back soon to finish up this iris and do a complete herbal consultation and botanical matching and come up with a formula for this person. All right, thanks for watching, and until next time, take good care. Bye.